One city. One empire. 1/4 of the entire human race under its control. At its peak, the British Empire ruled over 458 million people. That's more than the population of the United States, Russia, and Japan combined today. And it all started here in London, a city that was supposed to be nothing. A swampy wasteland the Romans almost abandoned. But here's what nobody tells you. London didn't conquer the world through military might alone. It was built on a secret weapon so powerful, so revolutionary, that it changed human civilization forever. And by the end of this video, you'll understand how a foggy island city became the most powerful force on Earth. Using cutting-edge AI technology, we've transformed centuries-old paintings and engravings into photorealistic scenes. You're not just going to learn about the British Empire, you're going to see it as it actually was. The streets, the ships, the moments that changed everything. This is 2,000 years. 15 minutes. Let's begin. The year is 43 AD, and 4 Roman legions are marching through hostile territory. They're not here to build an empire. They're here because Emperor Claudius needs a military victory to prove he's not weak. They find a river crossing, the lowest point on the Thames before it becomes too wide. There's nothing here. Just marshland and a few terrified British tribes. The Romans built a bridge, set up a camp, and called it Londinium. Within 17 years, this accidental outpost became Rome's richest trading city north of the Alps. Merchants from Gaul. Soldiers from Syria. Traders from North Africa. The DNA analysis of Roman-era remains shows people from across 3 continents living here. Sound familiar? But then, something happens that should have ended London forever. Her name is Boudica, Queen of the Iceni. A Celtic warrior whose husband died fighting Roman expansion, leaving her daughters vulnerable to Roman brutality. She watched Roman soldiers publicly flog her and assault her daughters, not as punishment for crimes but as a demonstration of power. A woman with nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. And she's about to burn Londinium to ashes. Queen Boudica leads 100,000 warriors to London's gates in 61 AD. Picture this moment. War chariots thundering across the marsh, Celtic war cries echoing off Roman stone, the smell of smoke already in the air. The Roman governor makes a calculation. The city cannot be defended. He abandons it. What happens next is brutal. The rebels burn everything. Archaeological digs have found a layer of red scorched earth beneath modern London, 18 inches thick in some places. The heat was so intense it melted glass and pottery into twisted sculptures of rage. Imagine walking through ash that was once your neighbor's. The silence after the screaming stopped. When archaeologists excavate Londinium, they find thousands of human remains in the ash layer. Men, women, children. Families who went to sleep Roman citizens and died as casualties of the empire. London's first attempt at empire, complete destruction. But here's where the pattern begins. The pattern that will define London for 2,000 years. The Romans don't give up. They rebuild. Bigger, stronger, more magnificent than before. By 100 AD, London had a massive basilica. Larger than St. Paul's Cathedral would be 1,500 years later. A governor's palace that rivals anything in Rome itself. Public baths where you can get a massage, a haircut, and plot the next trade deal, all while soaking in heated pools overlooking the Thames. The population? 60,000 people. That's massive for the ancient world. And then Rome falls. The empire that conquered the known world collapsed in the 5th century. The last Roman soldiers march out of Britain in 410 AD, their hobnailed boots echoing one final time on London's stone streets. Everyone assumes London will disappear with them. For 200 years it almost does. The grand buildings crumble. Vegetation grows through the mosaic floors. Wild animals make dens in abandoned bathhouses. Londinium becomes a ghost town, a reminder of what happens when the empire ends. But the Thames keeps flowing. And rivers have a way of attracting ambitious people. By 600 AD new settlers arrived. They're not Romans. They're not British. They're Anglo-Saxons, and they're going to transform this abandoned city into something the world has never seen before. The Saxons renamed the city Londonwick. They don't care about Roman grandeur or Celtic honor. They care about one thing: money. By 700 AD, London was a massive trading port. Ships arrived from Scandinavia loaded with amber and furs. From the Rhine with wine that will grace English tables. From the Mediterranean with silk that will clothe English nobility and spices that will transform English cooking forever. But here's what makes this moment crucial for the future empire. The Saxons invent something revolutionary. Banking. Not bank buildings, those come later. But the idea. Credit. Loans. Bills of exchange. The ability to do business with someone thousands of miles away without physically moving gold. Meet Aldrich the Merchant, a Saxon trader whose personal ledgers survive to this day in the British Library. While other men measure wealth in land and cattle, Aldrich measures it in promises. When a Viking trader from Dublin needs grain but has only silver, Aldrich doesn't demand immediate payment. Instead, he creates the first promissory notes in Britain, a piece of parchment worth more than gold because it represents trust across continents. This simple innovation allows a farmer in Kent to trade with a Viking in Dublin without either man leaving home, without armies, without conquest. Just commerce binding strangers into partners. This is the secret weapon. Then the Vikings arrive. November 866. Longships slip up the Thames in the pre-dawn darkness, their dragon prows cutting through morning mist. By nightfall, the Vikings control London. They'll hold it for nearly 100 years. And this is where it gets interesting. The Vikings don't destroy London's merchant culture, they supercharge it. They connect London to a trade network spanning from the markets of Baghdad to the fishing ports of Iceland. Silver from Arabia flows through London's counting houses. Amber from the Baltic arrives in London workshops. Slaves from Ireland are sold in London markets, a dark trade that enriches the city while destroying lives. London becomes the hub where three worlds meet: Christian Europe, pagan Scandinavia, and the Islamic caliphates. By 1000 AD, London was preparing for its greatest transformation yet. Because a man named William is sailing across the English Channel with 7,000 Norman soldiers and a plan that will change world history forever. William the Conqueror looks at London and sees what the Romans saw, what the Saxons saw, what the Vikings saw, the strategic point where power and commerce meet. But William adds something new, the understanding that controlling London means controlling England's future. He builds the Tower of London, not as a palace but as a statement carved in stone. This city now belongs to me. Resist and this fortress will crush you. And here's the genius move. William doesn't destroy London's merchant class. He uses them. By 1100, London had privileges no other English city possessed. The right to elect its own mayor. The right to collect its own taxes. The right to run its own courts. Why would a king give up this power? Because William understands something crucial that will echo through centuries. London's merchants are making him richer than conquest ever could. Every ship that enters the Thames pays customs. Every trade deal generates taxes. Every foreign merchant brings exotic goods the nobility will pay fortunes to possess. War conquers land, but commerce conquers hearts and wallets. And then, in 1215, these wealthy London merchants made a move that will echo through centuries. The barons forced King John to sign Magna Carta at Runnymede. Everyone knows this story. But here's what they don't teach you. London's merchants were the real power behind it. Led by Mayor William Hardell, they threatened to cut off the king's money supply unless he agreed to their terms. No loans. No credit. No trade financing. Economic warfare without a single sword drawn. This is the moment. The moment when London realizes it doesn't need to conquer through armies. It can conquer through wealth. Fast forward to 1290. London is the wealthiest city in Northern Europe. Its merchants control trade routes from the fishing grounds of Iceland to the spice markets of Constantinople. But they're hungry for more. The medieval Londoners invented marine insurance, protecting ships from storms and pirates. Joint stock companies, pooling wealth to fund expeditions. Futures contracts, buying tomorrow's harvest today. These aren't just boring financial instruments, they're the weapons that will conquer the world. Meet Thomas Gresham, the 16th century merchant whose personal fortune was larger than the royal treasury. When Spanish ships threatened English trade routes, Gresham didn't raise an army. He created the first international currency exchange on Lombard Street. Not for England's glory but to protect his own wealth. His innovation would outlast every Spanish galleon. While Philip II of Spain conquered territories, Gresham conquered currencies. Guess which empire lasted longer? By 1500, London's merchants were staring at maps of newly discovered continents. They see Portuguese trading posts in India, Spanish mines in Peru, Dutch colonies in Indonesia. And they're asking one question: how do we own this? December 31st, 1600. Queen Elizabeth I signed a charter creating the East India Company. Read that date again. This is before the Pilgrims land at Plymouth Rock. Before the Mayflower. Before anyone thinks Britain will have an empire. The East India Company starts as 218 merchants pooling money to buy spices from Indonesia. Within 150 years, it will control an army larger than Britain's, rule 90 million people, and generate more wealth than most European kingdoms. This is London's secret weapon finally unleashed. By 1700, London controlled more of global trade than any city in human history. Ships arrived daily from Virginia plantations with tobacco, from Caribbean sugar estates with sweetness built on slavery, from Indian textile workshops with silk and cotton, from Africa with, we need to talk about this, the dark heart of the empire. Between 1640 and 1807, British ships transported 3.1 million enslaved Africans across the Atlantic. Picture the coffee houses of London where merchants calculated profits while human beings died in ship holds. Every cup of sugar in London tea came with blood. The Royal Exchange in London, that beautiful building where merchants gather, is built on profits from human suffering. The empire is growing, but it's built on blood. Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. London celebrates 60 years of her reign. Look at the numbers. The British Empire now controls 13.7 million square miles. 1/4 of Earth's land surface. 458 million people. 1/4 of humanity. From London you can send a telegram that reaches Sydney in hours. You can move money to Mumbai instantaneously. You can order tea from Ceylon, cotton from Egypt, rubber from Malaya, all before lunch. The sun literally never sets on the British Empire because London controls time zones across the entire planet. Greenwich Mean Time doesn't just organize schedules, it organizes the world. But here's the thing about empires, they always fall. World War I bleeds Britain white. World War II finishes the job. By 1945, Britain was bankrupt. The empire is unsustainable. In 1947, India gained independence. The jewel in the crown gone. Overnight, the map turned from pink to nothing. Lord Mountbatten watches the Union Jack lowered in Delhi, and with it, centuries of London's global dominance seem to end. Over the next 30 years, nearly every colony follows. The pink on the world map, the color of British territory, fades. By 1997, when Britain handed Hong Kong back to China, the empire was effectively over. So London should be finished, right? Just another has-been European city living on past glory? Instead, something remarkable happens. Remember London's secret weapon? Financial innovation? The merchant networks? The ability to connect the entire world through trade and money? It turns out, you don't need a territorial empire when you control global finance. Today, London is the world's leading financial center. Over $5 trillion in currency trades daily through London's markets. More than New York. More than Tokyo. More than anywhere. Ask James Morrison, a currency trader whose decisions in London at 3 a.m. can bankrupt a small nation by breakfast. When Morrison sells the Thai baht, rice farmers in Bangkok feel the impact. When he buys Russian rubles, Moscow oligarchs notice. In 2008, when global markets crashed, it was traders like James in London's financial district who determined which banks lived and which died. The empire didn't disappear, it just moved from Whitehall to Wall Street's London offices. And remember that diversity that started in 43 AD with Romans from Syria and North Africa? Today, 37% of Londoners were born outside the UK. Over 300 languages are spoken in London schools. The city that became powerful by connecting the world has become the world. The empire didn't end. It transformed. Instead of ruling through governors and armies, London rules through banks and markets. The Commonwealth, 53 nations, 2.4 billion people, still looks to London as its symbolic center. So what's the real story of London's empire? It's not about military conquest. It's about this, adapt or die. Boudica burns the city? Rebuild bigger. Rome falls? Become a Saxon trade hub. Vikings invade? Make them business partners. Spanish armadas threaten? Create currency exchanges. Lose the territorial empire? Become the world's financial capital. 2,000 years. Same pattern. Same secret weapon. And here's why this matters today. Every major financial crisis, 2008, 2020, the ones coming next, they all flow through London. When markets crash in New York or Shanghai, London's opening hours determine what happens next. Brexit doesn't matter. Political changes don't matter. The algorithms still route through London. The city that started as a Roman accident controls the economic fate of billions. From marshland to empire. From empire to global financial power. London didn't just survive history, it shaped it. Which moment in London's empire shocked you the most? Was it Boudica's massacre? The East India Company's power? Or London's transformation into a modern financial empire? Hit that like button if this journey through 2,000 years of empire changed how you see the world today. Subscribe and turn on notifications because we're bringing more epic historical transformations to life with AI technology. Next up, we're revealing the secret history of how New York went from Dutch trading post to global superpower in just 400 years. Drop a comment telling us which empire or city you want to see next.